Live.
The broadcast is live.
Okay.
You are live.
I think it worked. Hopefully it did. If not, we're just talking to ourselves, which I think we do every week anyway. Well, welcome everybody to Release the Quacken. We just finishing up week 2, moving into week 3 for everybody following the Galloway training plans for marathon, dopey, goofy, any of the other weirdo challenges that folks are willing to wake up at 1:30 in the morning multiple times in a row for. So we just wanted to do kind of a check-in. We've been talking about trying to do this weekly. We missed last week because of the holiday. Here in the US, it was Independence Day, so I think a lot of us had other things going on. But tonight we've got Lonnie G, Glenn Olander, Kevin, and Jody joining us. Well, Jody was here. Now she's gone. Hopefully Jody comes back. But I guess, guys, let's talk about your training this past week. How did the runs go? What types of mileage are you getting in? And what type of cross training are you doing, I guess? So, Lonnie, how did your training runs go this week for you?
They went well this week. John, I tell you, it's week 2, right? So we had the 2 scheduled runs of 45 minutes because we're doing the dopey, as well as the long run of 4 miles. So I was able to do those. I did my long run today. I've started to incorporate some strength training. I think I mentioned that on the previous Release the Quacken, that I kind of gave that up as we went into last year's dopey. But for this year, I'm going to do some strength training. I also jumped on the Peloton for a little bit for a ride with arms. So did that too. So I'm trying to just get some different things in, trying to stay loose and hit these milestones. So far this week, training has been good.
So by arms, you mean like those that you have a right to bear, or arms? Which arms?
No, the real gun show.
That way.
Oh, you weren't okay. You weren't strapped for this ride. So this wasn't a ride that you got to be strapped for or anything, right? Okay,
no. I mean, it's since the stationary bike. I'm not. I'm just basically only driving probably like my living room or something. So it's good.
All right.
That just got a warning, and since we're live, we'll probably be kicked off of Facebook shortly.
Yeah, I'm sure if it hasn't happened yet, they will be coming down on us pretty hard.
I mean, if
Jeff can pay the fine,
right.
So that's fine with me. That works. We've had Jody join us. So good evening,
Hi, Jody.
Hey, Jody.
You might be muted. Now you're definitely muted. Check the button on the microphone.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
We did it. Teamwork.
Hi, team.
We fixed it.
You?
Doing well.
Good.
So we're just just been talking about how our training is going so far now that we're finishing up week 2 and getting into week 3. So we just heard from Lonnie about some of the strength training he's doing to complement his runs. Gene, what about you? What have you got going on training?
My wife and I went and met some friends in Hot Springs, and that's Arkansas. And I live in Louisiana, which is very flat. Arkansas is not flat. That's where Lonnie lives. Lonnie runs those hills all the time, I guess. I don't know. But I don't. And so I ran some hills on Tuesday for my 45-minute run. It was good. A lot less, mileage than a little less mileage than I'm used to. I'm trying to get, 3.5 or so miles, slow pace right now, just, getting going for that 45 minutes. I probably got closer to 3. But it was still a good run. Worked out my calves, my ankles, and my legs differently than I'm used to. I got to find some hills maybe around here. I don't know. There's some here and there. But it was good. And then another 45-minute run later on in the week. And then today I'm a little behind. I'm a day behind, but I got my 4-mile run in today, and it was good. It was a brisk 90 in Northwest Louisiana. And so a little overcast. So I got my run in the middle of the day. It wasn't the usual 100. And so it was a good run.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Gene, you mentioned the heat a few times, and we've had a few Facebook users comment. So Jake commented, and it looks like Nicole commented as well, that it's just been so hot. And I mean, it's been the same in Michigan. It was in the mid 90s the last couple of weeks, so many times, and just humid. I guess you living in Louisiana where you deal with this a lot, what kind of things do you do to combat the heat when you're out running?
I'd like to run early, but I'm not a morning person. Like to run late, but really if I don't do it before a certain time, it's not going to get done. So sometimes if I find the time, it's in the middle of the hottest part of the day, but I go to a park, there's people there. If I have to stop, drop, and roll, there's somebody that maybe will see me. I try to hydrate. I try to, do everything I can. I slow down my pace. If I'm not feeling right, I'll walk. My main goal is to get the mileage and the time in. And so if it's hot and I got to slow down, that's what I do. That's just the way I do it. I'm not a doctor. I'm not suggesting that for anybody else. That's just the way I do it.
And that's similar to what I do too. I mean, although I try to get up in the morning to run, and my wife will say I talk about that a lot, but I'm not very successfully executing that plan.
Yeah.
So then I end up going out on my lunch break, and I do the same as you. I pretty much just deal with it. I run through neighborhoods, so there's people. I try to keep my hydration up. Like I use noon tablets and drip drops and things like that regularly, so that I can keep up that hydration all the time. So if I want to go out in the middle of the day, I can. But another thing I've been trying to do lately is take a hat with me. And if I'm doing a long run, I'll stop back by the house, get the hat wet from the hose on the side of the house, and then keep that on. And that helps keep me a little bit cool too. So, that kind of stuff really, I was listening to a podcast earlier today at Rise and Run with, they had Jeff Galloway on, and he was talking about, trying to decrease your pace, like you were talking, Gene. And he's saying, roughly for every 5 degrees over 60 degrees Fahrenheit, you're going to decrease your pace by like 30 seconds a mile. So, you have a significant slowdown of a couple minutes by the time you get up into the 80s, which will help keep you safe too, because this is one of the biggest issues with runners and health problems could be from heat exhaustion. So
that makes my 14-minute miles not seem so bad when it's 100 degrees outside. Really. I mean, that's
right. No, that's,
but,
if you're running at 55 degrees, like Detroit in the fall or something, you'd be tearing it up. And
I don't buy that I would run that half.
Yeah. I find it funny that Gene says he's not a morning person, but Dopey is like in the morning.
Very early.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So it is. But I will say, I'm like Jake. I know Jake said that if he doesn't run in the morning before the sun rises, they don't happen. I'm the same way, Jake. I'll get there and I'll say, I'll do it in the afternoon. I never do it in the afternoon. Life catches up. So I have to do mine first thing in the morning and get them out the way. I've postponing won't work for me. So I'm just like you on that.
All right. So, we've talked a lot about the heat and stuff, but let's hear from Kevin and Jody about how your training has been going and what kind of issues you guys might have come up with. So Kevin, you want to tell us about how the last week or so has gone?
Yeah. So in Tennessee, dealing with the heat, and the last week I was down actually in South Florida, and it was not any cooler down there. It was very hot. So moving south in the summer, it's still hot when you move south. So, but I cranked out 2 very slow runs in the blazing heat, the 45-minute runs during the week. And then this afternoon, I went with my youngest. He's 7, and he rode his bike. And so he was ringing his bell at me to make me keep going, and he was a good trainer. So he got me through the miles today, but it was hot. And like you said, hydration. I've been drinking water all day long. I would like to get up and go run in the morning, but I never can. I struggle with the morning runs. I always have to do it at night because I have to get up so early for work and with the kids and all that. So maybe one day I'll be able to do the morning runs, but most of the time mine are in the afternoon or late evening, sometimes the middle of the day like Gene. Those are the worst. It's just hard to recover from that. And it's almost like you can't drink quite enough water and staying cool. I use a cooling towel, like you said, with the hat, drenching it in water. I mean, anything you can do to try to cool your body down, because it can get pretty dangerous out there if you don't. You got to listen to your body.
Hey, John, you mentioned that Rise and Run, Rise to Run. I don't know.
Rise and Run.
Yes, that one. And Jeff Galloway mentioned an ice chest and a towel, and doing a loop. And so I didn't have an ice chest, but I had a cooling towel, and there's a cold water fountain at the park I made a point every single time around on Thursday when it was so hot that I would drench that in water. And I looked like an old hippie, but it was okay. I tied it around my head, and it kept me cool, and I didn't die. So here we go.
So it worked, yeah.
Yeah,
And then Kevin, something else you
Okay.
said that I thought was really fun was you mentioned your 7-year-old going with you on a
Yeah.
bike. I've been
Yeah.
doing the same thing. When my 12-year-old daughter goes with me a lot, and she runs with me now, but
Mhm.
she used to ride her bike, and it's just so fun to get that time. Like, we'll talk about things that you just can't, talk about when you have 7 people in a house like we do. And I know you have a couple of kids, and
Yeah.
it's, you don't get that one-on-one time a lot. So it's really nice to get that with one of the kids.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that's always fun.
and something else that I did this week, I've never done. You mentioned cross training. I played my first game of pickleball. That was
good.
that was
We have
actually a lot
friends.
of fun. It's a lot
Yeah.
of fun, and
We have
I'm
friends
very
that play
sore
it.
from it.
Okay, so Kevin, I gotta hear more about this probably offline, but
Okay.
Katie and I have been talking about like trying, like, as a way of just getting moving a little bit, checking that out, because we have some friends who love it and go nuts.
It's hot everywhere too, man. Yeah.
It will get you moving, and you will be sweating. I promise. I was soaking wet.
Awesome.
After one
Okay,
game.
cool. I gotta talk to you about this because I kind of want to try it.
Yeah, that's fun.
Awesome. That's good though. That's another way to use some different muscles and get the aerobic exercise in and all that kind of stuff. Jody, how have things been going for you this week, training wise?
Well, things are hot here, just like everybody else. And let's just talk about, we're talking about the heat and we're talking about actual dopey. So let's just give a little thank you again to the sponge at mile 19 on the course this past year. So I know we all loved that. So when we're talking about cooling, I think that's the only thing that my husband made it from mile 19 to mile 26. So cooling and keeping yourself cool is so incredibly important. Slowing down your pace, all those things are of the utmost importance in this heat, because it's scary out there. I actually have started some new nutrition things since the heat started. I have a noon. I think it's noon. I don't know. I have to go look at the tablet, but it's a sodium tablet that I take in the summertime to help replenish all that sweat that you're losing. So I do take that in the summer to try to help with the heat issues. And I keep cooling towels. So this Saturday, I started my run at 3:38 a.m., which is obnoxious.
You just couldn't sleep.
I hope you rustle around a lot and wake Tim up when you're.
He was happily asleep snoring. But I think I've mentioned this before. I've got a big race coming up in October, so I've got a little bit of a bigger training plan right now. I actually had 16 miles to do on Saturday, so I had to get up early because I had to go pick up my daughter and then my son and whatever. So taking that sodium tablet, and then I kept a water bottle and a cooling towel out, and I dumped water and cooling towel on me multiple times, because it just, when it's hot like this, you got to keep your body temperature down. And if that's before the sun's up and it's dark outside and you're already hot. So the Rise and Run podcast, John, I know you talked about, but they talk a lot about dew point temperature as opposed to humidity and everything. And it was interesting to hear them talk about that and how much that plays a part. And I was looking, our dew point was at 69 on Saturday at that early in the morning. And they said I see you, John. They said that dew point temperature really has a big impact on your running capabilities. So something to pay attention to. So keeping those fluids in, keeping yourself hydrated, super important.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I do that year round basically now throughout the day is a couple of noon tablets a day basically, and then when I'm going out in the summer for a long run, those couple days before are really kicking up the electrolytes and making sure I have my salt tablets packed and my Tailwind ready to mix into my hydration pack and all that kind of stuff. Because it's definitely don't want to get dehydrated, because that's going to throw off not just your run but the next day or two as you try to recover from that. So that can be rough. As someone who's made that mistake a few times, it's definitely not good. It's a tough recovery. So and then I mean, for me this week I actually had my first run in 2.5 months today, because I've been dealing with a herniated disc in my back. And honestly, I felt great. I only ran about 2.5 miles, but I had a pretty good pace. I was happy with my cadence and everything that I was able to. So what I've been trying to do is quicker steps and quicker, shorter steps, right? So increase my turnover, my cadence, and decrease my stride length and try to lessen some of that impact. And it seemed to help because I had absolutely no back issues today. So it's been about a week where I was feeling good. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try to get out and do it. Luckily, I'm not running the marathon this year, so I don't have to worry about that level of training. But I have a half in October coming up, and then the virtual half in January, where I'll hopefully be joining you guys via FaceTime for some fun moments while you're all down there. But yeah, so that's kind of what I got going on right now is just trying to get back into it. So like Lonnie, you mentioned the Peloton. I've been doing a lot of Peloton rides. I love that bike. It's fun, but it doesn't give me the same, I guess, mental lift that running does. So yeah. I like it as like a cross training thing, but it's been my main form of exercise besides like lifting and stuff the last couple of months. And I'm ready to be outside and running. So I've been doing that. And then a lot of yoga, trying to make sure I don't get myself injured again. So yoga, stretching, and then a lot of weight training, but probably not the type I should be doing more like upper body, arms, chest, triceps, biceps, the typical like old
girls for the girls.
Yeah, exactly.
Girls, yeah.
Tries for the guys though. Right.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
You have a little bit small leg.
It's pool.
I thought it was thighs. I thought it was thighs for the guys. I don't know.
Thighs for the guys. Okay.
I don't want guys looking at my thighs. So
yeah, it's pool season. You got to get those things. You got to get those things fired up, right?
Just do some burpees. You get them all.
Yeah, but I can't. So my basement is where my gym is, and if I jump, my ceiling's only like 7.5 foot. So it just doesn't work.
Yeah, with your vertical, no way.
I'm full of excuses.
I mean,
well,
I'm sorry, Gene's like you're vertical. Just
it's probably like Phil. You guys remember when Phil Mickelson won? I think it was the U.S. Open, and he jumped, and it was literally like centimeters off the ground.
That's me. That's me.
That's lying.
Yeah. I got no ups.
Oh, I did it.
At both feet. All right. So we talked a little bit about like hydration, but what do you guys do for long runs in terms of nutrition? Like, how do you make sure you have enough energy coming into your body during your run, right? Because obviously we know you're burning a lot of calories if you're out there for 2, 3, 4 hours. So Jody, what do you do in terms of just making sure your body has fuel?
Well, normally on a good Friday night, I stay home and I drink water and I eat salmon and some rice and some asparagus, and I'm ready for my long run on Saturday. This Friday night, I decided to go to a fundraiser at our nature center, and I drank some beer and I ate some pizza and some pretzels. And I don't recommend that. So don't do what I did this past weekend, because that was bad. So as I said, I started taking those tablets, and I think they're a noon tablet, but I really have to look. But those have helped in the summer. And then I'm a big Tailwind person. I love Tailwind. I've now started with Goos. I used to not be able to take them, but now for whatever reason, I'm okay with them. I think it's the caffeine I like in them. Perk me up, keep me going.
Always helps.
And then I think I texted you guys about that. Jeff Galloway mentioned some product on that Rise and Run podcast, some 80-20 recovery. I forget what it's called. So this is a comical story, and I wish I would have run it in here for a show and tell. So I go on Amazon and order it. I think it's like this little 6-ounce container. You guys, it came in. It's bigger than my head. This container. It's like a 60-ounce container of this recovery drink. It's like they put it in some time machine or whatever, and they made or whatever. You guys are into Marvel, so things that make blow up. What's that? What Marvel show is that make things blow up?
Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Come on, you people.
The PIM particles.
So whatever. The thing was tiny, and then it was now gigantic. It's this gigantic thing of recovery drink that makes a soda look like it's for ants or something. So it's this huge. So I hope I really like it because I now have the year supply. So
yeah, at least you're covered for the full training cycle.
I know I've got it all right.
That's gonna be good.
During post. I mean,
I hope you like it too.
Yeah, I tried it. It was actually pretty good on Saturday, but after 16 miles, anything was good. So
So I joke about. I think I joked the other day during a run on our group chat about a sandwich, and I get really really hungry on long runs. I don't typically pack real food, which hey man, maybe I should, but I'll do goo. I've done like little candy bars, like like a Snickers or something that's got some sugar, some protein in it. But I have been traveling for work and had a long run, like in New Orleans or something, and mapped things out to where I ended up at a place that has a sandwich and gotten a sandwich and then run or walk back. I'm not even joking. I've not done that a lot, but I've done it at least once.
Nothing's wrong with a good sandwich.
Nothing's wrong with a sandwich. A po' boy at that. So.
Oh, was that the shrimp one that you sent a picture of? Was that you?
No, I don't know. But this was this was just like ham and cheese, but it was just what I needed. It was at the French market. It's just what I needed one morning.
That would be nice on the middle of a run. Just a good sandwich.
It's just funny. I don't even look at nutrition until I get around the 10-mile mark. I usually do fasted runs, so I don't eat anything. Just go out there and start running. I do have a problem with goo when I do start to get to the 10 miles. I need to start looking at nutrition, because once you have them on you and it gets hot, right? And then it's you're trying to take it, and it's I'm like, this is so thick.
And you got to time it with your hydration too, because you got to drink water after. You can't.
You do. And literally, I would have one, and I'm walking with it for like a mile, trying to force myself to have it. There's these little waffle cones, not cones, the waffle little things.
Yeah,
I'll do those. Now, of course, when you're running and you got to plan for that accordingly as well, because they'll get all broken up. And I think at one dopey, and I opened one up, and everything fell on the ground. It was all crumbs. I was like, no. So it's one of those things. I need to find that perfect balance. I just can't do the goo.
And John, they've got the gluten-free version of those waffles, because I actually, unbeknownst to me, I bought one of the gluten-free ones, the salted caramel, I think, the version, which was gluten-free. Mm-hmm. It was actually pretty good.
Yeah, and that packaging looks very, very similar to the gluten-containing version. And I left my house at 5:30 in the morning for a 20-mile run. And, I'm like 2 hours in, it's still dark because it's 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. Pull it out. I don't even think about it. I'm like, oh, this tastes good. I don't know. I like it. Put the other half back in. And then all of a sudden, about a half hour later, had to make an emergency stop back at my house to have some stomach problems. But then got back out there, went to eat the other half for lunch. And I'm like, oh, this is not the right one. That's why I had some issues. So yeah, funny story there. But they do make a gluten-free one, and it's really good. But the packaging looks just like the gluten one. Like,
yeah.
Hey, Jody. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Gene.
Jody, you mentioned, a good Friday night, you would eat the salmon and the rice and the, I guess asparagus, or I'm not sure what you said, but so I don't plan like that. That's not the way my mind works, and it should. I probably would get better results. The first time I did, I'm wearing my Dark Side Challenge shirt today. My first Disney race was the Dark Side Challenge, and I remember Lonnie and I went. Lonnie, as I've said before, Lonnie kind of coerced me into going. And one of the things that he promised me was pizza and wings. And so we ended up at what's the name of the Stacks? No, that's not right. What's the name of the
yes,
Disney Springs.
Disney Springs.
Wings. The wings were so excellent. I don't remember which race it was before, the night before. So good. I mean, I still had a good race. I still did good. But I think that, if I was a little healthier, if I thought a little bit better. But I mean, I'm probably not going to eat salmon and rice and asparagus ever. Maybe I should.
I'm with you.
Might eat some catfish and jambalaya. Catfish, jambalaya, and hush puppies. He might do that.
Okra.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, that's green. You've got the green, the rice, the starch, the fish. I mean, you're fine.
There's a bunch of vegetables in every Cajun food. You got Cajun Trinity, you got garlic. Yeah.
Onions, bell peppers. You got to know.
Mm-hmm.
You're fine. Whatever works for you.
And that I don't do a good job. If long run for the week is under 10 miles, I don't pay any attention to what I'm eating that week at all. Once we start getting into like the longer ones towards the fall and into the winter or December, I guess, when you're getting ready to do your really long runs, then I'll start paying it a little bit more attention and try not to eat, certain things that I know make me feel sluggish the next day and stuff. But in general, I don't pay a ton of attention to it. And then I pay the price for it as I'm running, but yeah,
it's important as you're training through those miles and stuff is working out and seeing what works for you. Cause if you do eat a cheeseburger the night before and then go out for a 20-mile run the next day and it really hurts you, you'll know then not to do that again, or to try not to. I know it's difficult sometimes, especially when you're at Disney and with all the great options there, it's hard to pass some of those things up. But one thing that I would say to try to focus on is to stay on a diet. If you're going to eat out or something, try to stick with things that are high in protein, not as salty and not as spicy. So just trying to make it kind of bland. I know that's hard.
Fish and chips? No.
Yeah.
Fish and chips are.
I like more like Ben Apple. Get you a piece of something like that.
For me, it's the dairy. I just can't have a lot of dairy the night before I run. We're not friends.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing about talking about it now too, right? Is you can try some of these things out and really start thinking about, okay, today I ran and I felt great. Here's what I did the last couple of days: sleep, eat, hydration, whatever, and figure out over time what works. So you're not flying down to Orlando and throwing yourself completely off. You can try to stay somewhat on track, right? If you know what your triggers are.
And this is when you try the goos, the gels, the blocks, the gummies, the tailwinds, you name it. Try it on these runs right now, because I think we don't get out until double-digit miles until, look at the training plan, until week 10. I think is our first double-digit. So try the stuff now, because you may find. I always thought that I didn't do well with goos until I found the chocolate espresso goo. I really like that. So, but everyone told me to try the I think it's called nude goo. It's like flavorless. And then I realized that I don't like the flavorless. The flavorless just tastes like, ugh. But the chocolate espresso, it's like chocolate espresso. I really like it. So, try stuff out, see what works for you. I'm not a big gummy fan in general. I don't like gummy worms, gummy bears, gummy anything. So that's not good for me, because I don't like it normally.
It's just chew forever.
I know it stays in your teeth and ugh.
Yeah.
So
I like that stuff, but I can't do it running because of the chewing and everything. It's just I'm worried I'm going to choke. So, because I'm trying to breathe. I'm already out of breath because I shouldn't be running that far anyway. But
I have a question about Tailwind. So in Hot Springs, there's a running store that, I've been to, every time I go in this running store, and they had Tailwind. You guys have talked about it. I've never tried it. They had a bunch of different flavors. They didn't call it nude, but it was basically a flavorless Tailwind. They had a bunch of different flavors, and they had a chocolate. And I asked the question of the young guy working there. He said, I think it might be a little thick. And I'm like, dude, that's not what I'm doing then. I'm not sticking that in my water bottle. But I'm just curious, what is the consistency of Tailwind? What is it like? It seems like it's not just hydration. It's like a full nutrition
calories.
They have so I drink Tailwind as the pre-drink. My husband drinks it as there's a recovery one too. So he drinks the chocolate recovery one, which is more like a milkshake.
Okay, I'll buy that. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't mess with that one. But the pre one, which I think, John, you do the pre-drink too, right? While you're running.
I do it while I'm running.
Kevin, are you Tailwind guy?
Yeah. Yes.
So, and what flavors do you guys like?
Raspberry.
Tropical Buzz for me. I like that one the best.
Of course you do.
Mine's like a
well, it's got the caffeine.
Mine's like raspberry. It's really good too.
Yeah. So I started off with lemonade, and it's okay. Not my favorite, but I think the one that I like now is fruit punch or some generic brand. But it tastes like water. I mean, once you mix it up,
flavored water.
I've also found that for me, I like it. It's got to be cold. If it's not cold, I don't love it as much. So if it's got a little chill to it, it's okay. More maybe like a Cosmo or something. It's got that little, maybe that's why I like it cold. I don't know, but if it's room temperature, I'm not interested. So
okay. I got to get something else. So I've been using Amino Energy, and I'm not getting paid. This is not a paid sponsorship, but it's a pre-workout, and I just have it. And so and it's got energy. It's got some caffeine in it, and so I've been adding like a pinch of salt to it. And it tastes like Gatorade, makes it taste like Gatorade with a little bit of salt. And that's worked for me right now, but I want to try Tailwind. I want to try some other things. I haven't seen a lot of things like in the stores around me. I'm going to have to get on Amazon and do some shopping.
Well, and what I was going to say to that, Gene, you brought something up earlier about a local running shop that you stopped in. I would say go to your local running shop, support those guys, because for one, they're awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I try, yeah.
But the other thing too, they have a lot of those different products. And like you mentioned, Gene, you almost bought one, but found out it was a thick, like slushy or whatever it's called, right? So you can go in there and talk to those guys and figure out what you like. And most running stores too have pretty good like return policies and samples available, that kind of stuff. So check out your local running store too. Okay, so
Gene's not allowed to go to the local running store, or schools for that matter. But that's
within 100 yards of the school.
But that's why he changed his name to Glenn.
All right. Well, I think are there any final thoughts, I guess, from the team on going into finishing up week 2 and going into week 3?
Stay strong.
Keep at it.
Yeah, I think
just keep running.
2 45-minute runs, and then we go down. We're only 3 miles for this Saturday run, so we're going down, which is good. Yep.
Yeah, and so that was for the Dopey plan. For the marathon beginning plan from Galloway, I'm looking at it, and it's 2 30-minute runs on Tuesday and Thursday, and then 2.5 miles on Saturday. So a relatively light week, but again, all these runs build up over time, right? So it's important to get the miles in early and make sure you're making that progress up. So we'll check back in about another week when we'll see how we did during week 3 and what's happening heading into week 4. All right. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.